Okay, now we're live.
All right. Hello, everyone. It is good to see you all. I am Laurel Starks. I am the CEO and founder of the Alumni Institute. I will give you a disclaimer first and foremost. I have got, if any of you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I've got a brand new puppy. We do not have a lot of control over this dog. She's completely taken over our entire lives. If you hear a little bit in the background, hold on one second. Because she's a little out of control. I am going to, okay, she's fine right now. If you hear anything in the background, that's her. I may need to just go pick her up or something. So my apologies for that first and foremost, but she is adorable. Her name is Roxy Blue. Okay. So I am here to answer your questions about divorce and real estate, the industry. That is a little bit about my background. I started working in divorce real estate about 17 years ago. It's really all I've done. My second listing was a divorce listing, and I just from that moment, I realized that there was a huge need for someone to specialize in this, because I got some pretty complicated listings that were very high conflict. They were under the jurisdiction of the court, and they were really, it was really difficult for my broker to even know how to necessarily handle some of these things. There's a whole emotional component, understanding and knowing how to manage high conflict people who are not at their best. And then there's also how to, from a legal standpoint, understanding the role that the court plays, the attorneys, when to involve them, what they need to know, what they don't need to know, and communication and just all of that. So I really dove in and researched this extensively through just, there wasn't any training when I started. And so I got very involved in the family law community. I got very involved with the collaborative divorce movement. I was the first realtor in the nation to be trained in collaborative divorce, for those of you that are familiar with it. And just really kind of taught myself through, exposure and how to handle these listings. So it's really been my business for the last 17 years. And so then I took everything that I know, and I opened up the Alumni Institute with a handful of attorneys and a judge who had been very instrumental in teaching me what I needed to know when I was first starting out. So together we all launched the Alumni Institute, and we've now grown to be the largest divorce real estate education organization in the country, probably the world. I don't know of any other one that exists outside the United States. And it's just been an incredible thing to experience, because, through our students, through our CDREs, they've been able to make an impact in their local community, in their, with their attorneys. Now attorneys are many attorneys throughout different markets are demanding that the realtor that they agree to in a divorce case is CDRE. And in addition to what it's done for their business, and what it's done for divorcing homeowners who deserve to have good, fair representation, no matter what emotional state they're in, because they're in the fight of their life. So anyway, that's a little bit of my background, and I am here to answer any questions that you all have regarding this. And I've got a little list here that I can start with. If you didn't submit a question ahead of time, then please go ahead and submit it either on Facebook or or if you're in the Zoom, you're welcome to submit it there. And so Sarah, who's our wizard behind the screen, she is curating the questions to make sure that I see them. So the first question is from Daquan. Oh, I'm going to botch this. Grignon, I think is how you pronounce it. So the question is, I have an agent in my office who is hanging their license, but is not selling. They are related to a local family law attorney. With me going through that agent, can you give advice on building repertoire and or asking for the attorney's business? Sure. So it sounds to me like you've got a warm introduction to a family law attorney. The first thing that I would have you be able to answer is, why should they do business with you? And this, when you're working with divorce attorneys and in the family law arena, it's a little bit different than just why should they do business with any agent. So what is your value proposition that you can bring to that attorney? Attorneys are routinely solicited by agents. So that is not a novel idea. It's the key is to be able to get past a gatekeeper and to be able to offer value, have your value proposition be different and come from a place where you're relevant to them. So that is the question that you want to first and foremost answer. This is why when we certify our CDREs, not only having that certification, but also to have the approach that's appropriate for them is everything. So I would say, I mean, first and foremost, what's going to help you is to get a CDRE. That's what that's what our CDREs are trained to do, is to get in the door and build these relationships with family law attorneys. If you want to do something right away, then I would recommend that you school up on how can you handle these high conflict cases. So lawyers have got, understanding they are dealing with family law cases, and the problems that come across a lawyer's desk in any given day are anything from domestic violence. They've got a lot of custody issues that they're dealing with. They've got clients who are calling them on Monday morning saying that there was an incident that happened over the weekend. They've got clients who are incarcerated, opposing parties who are incarcerated. And I say that because I actually have 3 cases right now where I've got 3 clients that are incarcerated at the moment. Because, sometimes they're going through stuff, and this is, they get themselves into a little bit of trouble, but, there are child abductions that go on a lot. So this is really what comes through, what's sort of a day in the life of a lot of attorneys in terms of the problems that they have. They are dealing with the court system. They're preparing for trial. They go in, they give it their best shot, and the judge rules against them, which can be very devastating. They've got clients who are not at their best. There's a saying that in family law, you see your best people at their worst, and in criminal law, they see the worst people at their best. So they're dealing with a lot of highly emotional people that have a lot of anger, and are looking for someone to blame a lot of times. So, there's a lot of these are pretty predominant issues that go on with family law attorneys. The notion of dealing with the house, that is something that lawyers, by and large, they do not want to have to get sucked in to a lot of the minutia in dealing with listings, dealing with showing schedule. Certainly don't want to have to get into reviewing contracts. Divorce attorneys are not real estate professionals. They're not real estate attorneys, and they'll be the first to tell you that. They want to have a competent professional, a competent realtor who can make their life easier. That's what they want. Lawyers, divorce attorneys are inundated with problems. That's just all they do day in, day out is firefight. So they want someone who can handle the real estate aspect of the case and handle it effectively. Somebody that they can trust, that's very competent, somebody who knows how to work with high conflict people, somebody who's going to problem solve, not stir up more issues, somebody who's going to be neutral, somebody that they can trust, somebody who's a strong realtor. So all of these are things that lawyers need and that lawyers want from realtors. The best thing that we can do is to take a case and then just provide lawyers with milestone updates on, the listing agreement got signed, listing is now active, we're now under contract, we've closed, and we've been able to do it all without having to involve the attorneys. Now, that doesn't mean we give legal advice. It doesn't mean we never involve the attorneys. We certainly do when the time comes, but having somebody that they know so that is, let's see. Live, can you see me? Hopefully you can. Sarah, if you can give me a thumbs up that I am good. Perfect. Okay, thanks. So anyway, that is what a divorce attorney wants from a realtor, is somebody who can competently handle it. So and saying you can and then not delivering on that, that's not good. They may give you a try. And then if you fall down, then they probably won't give you another shot. So before holding yourself out as somebody and telling them what they want to hear without really having the skill set to do that, I wouldn't advise that. So if you don't, the first place to start even becoming certified is to take our boot camp. It is chocked full of information. It's taught by me and a divorce attorney, Shelley Jean John. We walk you through the whole entire court process, how the house is dealt with in a divorce. We walk you through the listing process, how exactly to handle your listing so that you don't fall into these traps. And then you've got the client controlling the situation, and you've completely lost control. And then we've also got a business builder element to that. So to the course as well. So I would, at the very least, enroll in that. It's on demand. It's $275. And it's on demand video course. You can watch it. You can binge watch it over the weekend and then have it as a resource. That's what I would do. I'd start doing that and then go from there. Okay. That was a long answer. Let's see. So Brian Krause asks, has there been a trend you're seeing in the divorce real estate niche since the pandemic happened? Can you give insight on where this might go in the next couple of years as we continue coping? So, in terms of a trend, and let me ask you if what you mean by that trend is, are we seeing an uptick in our industry? Are we seeing an uptick in their industry? in the divorce industry. So I'll answer both because I'm not exactly sure which your question is targeting. So with regards to the trend that's happening within our industry, I absolutely am seeing that realtors are flocking to this niche really in droves. I've never seen it this this sort of popular before. The caution that I would have to realtors is that you, in order for the sake of everyone's reputation and name, we don't have a good reputation anywhere among most industries, but we certainly don't have a good reputation among most of family law attorneys. They don't give realtors the respect. They don't see realtors as experts, and much of that reputation we've dug ourselves. So I would say to any realtor who wants to get into this niche and wants to start targeting family law attorneys, like I said, get yourself educated, know what their pain points are, have a solution for that, and be able to follow through on that solution. So what happens when you get a case and there's a court order that the property is to be sold and it is to be listed for $40,000 above what you think that it should be listed for? You've got one client is, let's say one client is incarcerated. I've got a case right now. You've got a client that's incarcerated. That client has a power of attorney for the person who's supposed to sign. It's expired. So they don't have a signer. They're both on title. The party that's living in the property is not cooperative. The house is a complete mess, and there are abandoned vehicles on the property that are titled to the incarcerated spouse. The attorneys are probably more at odds than the clients are. There's tons of fighting between the attorneys. So you get this case. What do? Because this is what you get when you get into the real estate industry. So understanding that this isn't just simply, two people that are going through a tough time, but they're pretty amicable, and otherwise their lives are pretty straight. And, money is always tight. That's the other thing, house in foreclosure. They don't have the money to make repairs. They don't have the money to do, anything that you think that they should do. It's like, this is kind of the stuff that we get when we work with family law attorneys. So what's your plan for a situation like that? So anybody who wants to get into this and market to family law attorneys, I would definitely say that you should, for the sake of all real estate professionals, don't hold yourself out to be something that you're not. Don't hold yourself out to be able to do something that you have no idea how to tackle and handle. And it's about being a resource to the attorneys, and it's about taking the entire headache off of the attorney's plate that has to do with the house. The attorney doesn't work for you. The attorney works for their client. The attorney isn't somebody you ask what you should do, or think that you should get advice from. I see that a lot, and that's not the attorney's job. The attorney will tell you, if you ask them, they'll tell you what to do. However, it's going to serve their client and their client only. They're not worried about your license or your, liability. That's not their concern. So, and then the other part of the question, which is there an uptick in divorces? So I'm not sure if that, Brian, is the other part of your question, but is there an uptick in divorces? And I would say that we all know that there has been. It is the courts have been closed, or they were closed, during, a lot of them were during 2020, just depending on what market you're in, but a lot of courts were closed during 2020. or they were only seeing things that were very, very, crises. They were only hearing cases that had to do with custody issues, that had to do with, with abuse, domestic violence. Those were the two hot things that courts were seeing. The house isn't, in the court's eyes, usually an emergency. So a lot of the house stuff, even in cases that had begun prior to COVID, when it came to the house, those issues and matters were just deferred. So it was a very, very clogged up system. And it was, they had to triage when they did hear cases. So we are now seeing that cases and issues, matters affecting the property are now starting to make their way through the court system. So remember, for us, it isn't so much about, are there new filings? It's more about, when is the house being dealt with? That has been what was really delayed. I saw my business take a big hit. I know 2020 was a big year for a lot of agents, but my business took a hit because there were not orders being handed down. And we're now starting to see that 2021, it was much better. And 2022 right now, I mean, it's mid-February and I'm teed up to have the best year I've ever had in real estate, based on what my pipeline is showing, based on the flood stuff that I've gotten in the last 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. What happens if your former husband is representing one of the parties? I'm not quite sure if that's from Cindy Pike. I'm not quite sure, Cindy, if you're referring to, in what capacity is your former husband represent? Is your former husband an attorney? Is your former husband a realtor? I don't know that I understand the question. So if it's possible for you to clarify, if you are on listening, these were pre-submitted questions. So if you're on listening, please clarify that either in the chat or on Facebook, and I'll be happy to answer it. David Byford asks, is your CDRE recognized by NAR? No, we have opted not to go the route of NAR. In discussions along several years ago with NAR at the time was not interested in a divorce designation, not sure why, but it turned out to be better for us anyway. NAR typically owns their designations. So if it's a NAR designation, they want to have full control over it. We like to remain independent. We like to remain nimble. We know divorce real estate better than anybody does. And so we are not interested in having an oversight, or I shouldn't say oversight, but we're not interested in having NAR or another organization take control of it. So this allows us to be much more effective, much more nimble. We can pivot if we need to. So that is the reason we are not NAR certified. They own their own designations. We've got another question here. Is the CDRE program possible to take while going through a real estate coaching program? My coach isn't sure about both at once. Absolutely. Most of our CDREs are in coaching. I don't want to say all of them, but most of them are in some sort of coaching program. And I am happy personally to speak with your real estate coach. We love for our CDREs to go through to be in coaching, but we like, especially when our CDREs are synced up, or the coaches are kind of synced up with what our program is, so that they can best support their client, which would be you. So absolutely, it's possible to go through it. A real estate coach, by definition, is there to support you and support your goals. And if your goal is to jump out of an airplane, if your goal is to, compete in a triathlon, whatever your coach is there to do business wise. If if your goal is to, make $100,000 a year, make $1 million a year, build the biggest team in the country, whatever your goal is what your coach should be supporting. So if your goal is to make this niche a leg of your business, then that's absolutely what your coach should be supporting and holding you accountable to. So you as the client dictate that. Anyway, again, I'm happy to speak with a real estate coach and educate them a little bit on how they can best support a CDRE going through our program. Number 7, Gary Hill, how would you recommend prioritizing which attorneys in our area to approach after first earning our CDRE? Yeah, great question. So what we recommend is that our CDREs take there's a sort of a formula on how many sort of icon attorneys you should have versus how many new attorneys you should have and how many ones that are kind of the middle of the road. And there is a good assortment of all. A lot of, let's call it the icon attorneys. It's great to get in with them because once you have some of them working with you, then it is, it's influence, right? It's, they find out, oh, so-and-so, works with this, with Gary Hill. That's always a good thing. But a lot of the icon attorneys have been around a long, long time. They can be, old dogs that are a little harder to learn new tricks. CDRE is an emerging expert in the family law arena. Some of them already have realtors, which I certainly believe that a CDRE is much more qualified than any realtor that they could possibly have. But nevertheless, it is still a relationship that they have that, you'll need to earn in. You'll get probably business quicker when you're going after a newer attorney or a middle of the road attorney. Remember, they come out of law school. Coming out of law school prepares you to practice law as much as getting your real estate license prepares you to practice real estate. So, when they come out of law school, there's a whole lot of stuff they don't know. And so, man, a CDRE can be a phenomenal resource, and CDREs are phenomenal resources to emerging attorneys. Certainly the ones that are in the middle, that have a good amount of experience, that, they quickly see the need most of the time as well. So that's it. And by the way, Gary, I would like to congratulate you on being and joining us in our April class. So I look forward to having you there, and we will have all of the answers to that and more for you. You've got a wonderful network and faculty that is waiting to greet you with open arms and supporting you throughout your journey. So that is a wrap. It is 10:30. Thank you all for joining. If you're interested in joining us, we've got a few, I think we have 6 or 7 spots left for our April class. We teach our CDRE program twice a year. Next one's in October. So if you'd like to get into the April one, now is the time. We are still taking applications for a few more weeks. First come, first serve. And, that is, you can go to getdivorcecertified.com. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.